What's up, everybody? I'm Metal Nick,
I'm Jeff Grindstoffer.
and welcome to episode number 94 of Vinyl Bang, where today's guest you might recognize as the drummer of the band Nite, Mr. Patrick Crawford, ladies and gentlemen. Patrick, thank you for
All
being on
right,
the show.
Patrick Crawford. Woo!
Thanks for having me, guys. Stoked to be here.
Pat, Nite just put out a new album this current year. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, back in March, we released our third full-length album. It's called Cult of the Serpent Sun. It's gotten great reviews. Decibel gave it a great review. It's gotten written up a bunch. Reviews are still coming in today, and it's October. We just got probably our best review ever last week of the album, where somebody just like nailed it. Like they just got it. It was rad. And so we're sort of still flying high off that. We did a tour with our friend Savage Master back in June where we got to tour the East Coast and play a bunch of cities we'd never played before. 3 shows in Toronto also, which were killer. Sorry, Toronto. 3 shows in Canada. One of them was in Toronto. Canada fucking rules. They're the best. Next year, the big thing I have to announce is we have been invited to play Inferno Metal Festival in Norway. That's the 2nd through the 5th of April, 2026. They have not announced the full lineup, obviously, yet, but Inferno is one of those festivals that from when we first founded the band, back in 2017, 2018, we were like, we need to play Inferno. Like, we have to do it. So it's been a big goal for us, and we're really stoked to be there. We're going to probably string together a tour. We have a European booking agent who's going to help us with a tour to kind of connect some more dates. But right now we just have Inferno to announce next year. And that's the big,
rad.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
That's a good one.
Congratulations.
on landing the gig, man. That's
Thank
rad.
you. We just got the offer recently, so we're still kind of flying high off that.
Oh, dude, then that's absolutely a Vinyl Bang exclusive, everybody.
Yeah, we haven't actually, we haven't done an interview about it or talked about it publicly. We kind of put it out on the socials and stuff, but yeah, it's rad. You guys are
Awesome.
breaking news.
That's awesome. And just real quick, just to recap that, shout out to Albert at Decibel, because Albert's our boy. So
I love all the Decibel guys are great. We played, as I mentioned, we played all the East Coast cities. We did in June for the first time, and in North Carolina, we got to meet Chris Dick, who writes a ton of stuff for Decibel, and is a big fan of the band. And it was so cool to just like, again, these people that you've like had a communication with over email or through, media, and like in the magazine, and then just like to meet him in person. And he's just like the best dude ever. Like everybody, I know a bunch of Decibel writers, some of the best people ever, and the biggest music nerds you will ever meet. No surprise there, but like it's so fun to nerd out about heavy metal and music with these people. Just super fans.
for sure.
Definitely. Great people there at Decibel, and we love Albert. Albert was on our show once. And
Oh, rad.
awesome guest, and had brought up some interesting topics to discuss on our show. But let's see. Let's cut to the chase here and see what records you brought to our show.
Oh man, a lot. Okay, there's too much, so I'm just gonna try to, like I said, maybe bang through some quickly. I don't need to get through them all. It's really interesting. I'll say, like starting off, how like autobiographical this is. I know that's kind of the point of the show is you want people to share records that meant something to them and like formed them as a musician and as a person. But like I don't know, it was like really nostalgic for me to like look through all these records and think about what they meant to me. First one is the mighty Asuk Misery Index from 1997. So I got to see Asuk on this tour when I used to live in Cleveland, Ohio. I originally grew up in Ohio, northeastern Ohio, and I got to watch Rob Proctor, the drummer of Asuk, play this like DIY venue called Speak in Tongues, and I was like 17 years old or something, and it just like blew my mind. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Asuk, legendary
Absolutely.
Florida, underground, like they were sort of part of the anarchist like hardcore punk scene, but like they were a death metal band. I mean, it was grindy death metal, but it was like just like nothing I'd ever seen or heard, especially live. And especially in such a like small venue, like seeing people perform at that level in this like really like intimate DIY space was just like just unbelievable. And it's crazy. Like these records were recorded at More Sound Studios. Like Scott Burns, did these albums, and like again, it was like this underground DIY band, but playing at this level that was like unreal for a band of their stature. Um, that's number one. Number two, Osrotten. The system works for them. So this is probably the most autobiographical album for me. I was in high school when I discovered this band. This was one of my favorite records, probably like my senior year. I graduated high school in '97, and I moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where Osrotten is from. Long story short, it's not a huge city. I met everyone there in the punk scene, in the heavy metal scene, in the hardcore scene, and I befriended their drummer at the time, my friend Doug Weaver, and he's like, "Dude, I don't think I can play drums with these guys anymore. I'm just like got too much going on or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, really? Okay, cool." Like, and I was like trying to be supportive and a good friend, but I was thinking like maybe I should play drums for them. So, long story short, there's way more to the story. I got to try out to be the drummer for one of my favorite bands, which is unreal. And then, I knew the album like front to back, so it was easy. And it's just D beat. It's really just, it's like fast D beat. But it's you got to do it right. There's a style to it. And we did some US tours, European tour, and got to actually tour Japan in '98 when I was like whatever 19, 20 years old or something. Like, or is 18, I don't know, it was 98 or 99. It's all a little bit fuzzy now, but point being, one of those things where like it just seemed unreal at the time that I could even meet the people in a band that I loved. And I come from, I think from these first two records, as you can tell, I come from kind of like the DIY hardcore punk scene. That was my like sort of proving ground as a musician and as a music fan. And I think just the accessibility of the people in the bands, and just sort of like you could go to the shows and literally just meet these people, or move to their city and end up playing drums for the band that you loved as a teenager. So it's pretty wild that happens. And I had the opportunity to tour internationally for the first time, which I learned a lot. I was very young. Obviously I would do it differently if I could go back, but I was young.
Well, sure. I mean, in hindsight, everything's different in hindsight. Real quick, before we get too far off this, the Asuk, everybody has a different pronunciation. That's
There's a
the
new one.
third or fourth time that album's been on our show, I think.
No shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh dude, I mean, yeah. I mean that's just one of those monumental albums that people own or want to own or.
We had somebody on our show who had a test press of that album.
No shit.
Yeah. Okay. So.
And to bring it full circle, I purchased that album recently off of a previous guest on our show, and still waiting on it to be shipped.
Maybe they've been second thoughts. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to part with
this.
I mean, everything they did was amazing, but for me, that record, like I said, because I got to see them tour on that album and see that lineup, and just again, Rob Proctor on drums was like, I mean, he looked like he was like 7 feet tall, and his arms were like a million miles long, and just like, I just have never seen somebody play that quickly and like that precisely. Nice. It was unreal. Great shit.
Yeah. I was preoccupied with the dog. I had to put the dog out while you were talking about it. I'm like, we have to go back to Asu.
Oh, no sweat. Yeah. I'll talk about it all day. I mean, but yeah, I think those first two records, the Asuk and the Osrotten, just kind of like, again, autobiographically put me in that sort of like mid to late 90s kind of like hardcore underground DIY, punk rock, thrash, heavy metal, whatever you want to call it. It's really kind of like where I came from as a drummer and as a musician, and where I sort of like established myself first as like, somebody in the scene that could like go out and tour with bands and be a solid drummer. And it was a, I was young and it was fun. Like I said, made some mistakes, and chalk it up to youth and ignorance and
Everybody's got to learn somewhere. I mean, you can't start off being David or Adam Jarvis. You can't. You got to start somewhere.
gotta, yeah. And like I said, not a bad place to start. I'm proud of everything I did with all the bands I played with then, and it was so rad to get to meet such amazing people all over the world. So we can move on to the Bees.
Yes. Next album.
I'm sure a band that makes your list
Oh,
a
yes.
lot. Black Sabbath. I know this album, Heaven and Hell, is probably not everyone's first pick for their favorite Sabbath record, and I know that we just lost Ozzy, and it affected me way more than I could have ever imagined. But I just had to be honest. Like, this is the Sabbath album that I probably reach for the most, and for me, it's just like one of those records that I can keep turning over. Like it ends on side 2 with Lady Evil, and I just want to hear that opening to Neon Nights, which starts with the lyric, "Oh no, here we go again." And it's just like feels like this full circle thing that I just want to just keep reliving. And I know that it's very public knowledge that Bill Ward has no recollection of playing on this record. He has no recollection of Tony like dousing him in cleaning fluid from tape heads and lighting him on fire and his beard burning, and he got 3rd-degree burns. He was so fucked up and so in an alcoholic haze that he doesn't even remember recording this record. And what's amazing is the drums are so good on this album. And for the longest time, I was like, it can't be Bill Ward. They had to have like called in a ringer or something. And I know he was there again. It's documented. He played the drums, but like, it's just such a different Black Sabbath album. I mean, obviously with Dio on vocals at this point, but I just think it's such a well-written album, and it's such a it's one of those albums that's just it's a journey. It's just like it takes you somewhere. And fun fact on my list, there are 5 albums produced by Mr. Martin Birch, and this is the first of 5 albums. I kept like noticing like, oh yeah, Martin Birch did this one, oh, and this one, and this one, and it's just like that says something too about like the music I like and appreciate, like the way that Martin Birch got these sounds and these recordings from these bands was really like it meant something for sure.
Now that's a new one. We've done producers like Nick and I think that was one of our subgenres where Alex Chaw had suggested we talk about maybe Russ Robinson, I think, as a producer, but I've never heard the name Martin Birch. I'm excited to hear this little subgenre that you're going to do, these little 5 albums that you're going to focus on.
You've definitely heard a lot of Martin Birch recordings, whether you
I'm
know.
Sure I have. I'm sure I have, but that's just something I've never really focused on. Is like, who produced this? Like, I mean, it's cool to know, but I've never really made it a point to like find, Martin Birch albums.
It's interesting. Like even on this album, like there's the band photo, and then like right below it, produced and engineered by Martin Birch. Like it was kind of. I mean, by this point, I guess it was a big deal. This is 1980. He'd already produced some really incredible records in the 70s. I'll come back to talk about Martin Birch, but yeah, Sabbath. I mean, I thought about like Master Reality Volume 4, but like I don't know. This is the one I reach for. Heaven and Hell is just the record that I just keep coming back to.
Nice.
Over and over again. And obviously with like the reissues now of like all the Tony Martin stuff, like Headless Cross and those albums are incredible. Tear, which doesn't get nearly as enough respect as it should. Those Tony Martin records are fucking great too. And even the shit that Glenn Hughes sang on, like so good. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's like Tony Iommi is like you know when it's him, when there's a Tony Iommi riff, like it hits you. So I try to not be. I'm not one of those like, oh, Dio era Sabbath is better than Ozzy. Like it's Black Sabbath was like an entity unto itself, like and Tony Iommi just kind of kept that ship afloat for as long as he could. And I don't care who's singing for Sabbath, like they're all great records.
Hell yeah, absolutely.
Not all of them, but there's some low points, but they're just
of course, everybody's got their low points, but
you can't make like whatever 20 some records and not have a few questionable ones. All right, moving on. We got Blue Oyster Cult, Fire of Unknown Origin. This is another album produced by Mr. Martin Birch. It's credit here right on the back. for me, like Albert Bouchard's drumming on this album is one of the most like, it's a weird word to say, but most fun kind of like drum performances. I'll like sit down, put this record on, and just play along to the whole album because they're such fun, interesting drum parts that like if you don't kind of sit down and analyze them, they sound pretty straightforward. Um, Sort of like it's sort of the ACDC, like, Phil Rudd kind of effect where people are like, oh, ACDC, like those drum parts are easy. Anybody can play that. Maybe. But if you sit down and try to play an ACDC song like Phil Rudd would play it, you're not going to sound like him. There's so much nuance and there's so much detail and there's so much like, just he does little things that most drummers would never think of. And that's what makes, ACDC sound, in my opinion. I know they've had other drummers through the years, but like Albert Bouchard for BOC, he was that drummer. And this album, you know, I mean, it might not be everybody's favorite BOC album, but there's a lot of '80s keyboards on it, uh, which not doesn't sit well with everyone. But I don't know, the writing's incredible. I mean, even the single, like "Burning for You," is like, I know it's like a staple of like rock radio or whatever, and everybody's heard it a million times, but it's like it's such a good song. Like it's just
Absolutely.
the most timeless classics that you can't argue with.
Sure.
So yeah, for my money, that's the BOC album that I reach for, and that's kind of how I try
I,
to do
I
it. I looked at my bands I love, and then I was like, which album do I pull out the most consistently?
Right.
Because that means something.
For many years, "Burning for You" is really the only song I really knew by them.
Mm.
And then
Hmm.
somewhere in the early '90s, a buddy of mine, we were at the beach. It was raining. We went to a movie store, and he rented this movie called Stoned Age.
Hmm.
And the point of this movie was these
Remember
two
that?
stoners, and one of them went to the Blue Oyster Cult concert, and one of the lasers hit him in the head. He'd been seeing this giant eye ever since. And so every time he sees this giant eye, I think like uh, "Don't Fear the Reaper" starts playing, which is my introduction to that song. And I remember the first time hearing it, I'm like, this kind of sounds like the "I'm Burning for You" band. Um, Years later, SNL made that fucking song so popular. But
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I love Blue Oyster Cult. They got a ton of great songs, tons of great riffs. I once heard what's their guitarist's name?
Uh, well, there's Buck Dharma is the main kind of guitarist, and Eric Bloom. Eric Bloom plays guitar and also sings.
I read somewhere that Jimi Hendrix once said their guitarist was his favorite guitarist.
That's not that is totally believable. I could see that. Buck
Yeah.
Dharma, incredible guitarist, and again, like very like understated and underrated. Like he doesn't get a lot of like, I think, credit for how just, I mean, they had a lot of different eras throughout their career as well, but like to me it all comes back to he wrote great riffs. They were,
Timeless hits.
yeah, like the hits were huge, but then also
The
like
riff.
records, those first four albums are fucking weird records. Like they're going for some strange shit. And of course there's a whole like, Sandy Pearlman like lyrical kind of uh you know uh history of you can like there's a whole story that the kind of like arc of the story that goes through the band that
Mhm.
even the band doesn't maybe really understand because like they're like, manager, producer, friend, like kind of wrote a lot of the lyrics, which is also super unique and interesting as a musician.
Mhm.
Like that's really strange to have somebody else write lyrics for you, but like it totally worked for them and it created this whole sort of like story behind the band. There was a larger concept to what Blue Oyster Cult was. So I don't even understand. I'm not going to pretend to understand it or analyze it. I'm not that nerdy, but the music, dude, and that record is
Yeah.
so good.
Hell
All
yeah.
right, I can keep going because, like I said, I got a bunch. Let's talk about another. I think Martin Birch did this one too. This is Deep Purple, Burn, and another, I guess, autobiographical aside for this record for me is that uh, I'm a drummer, so I play in a lot of bands, and there's a local glam rock heavy metal band here in San Francisco called Glitter Wizard, and I fill in for them on tours, and I've been sort of their on and off drummer the past like 4 or 5 years. Every year they do a Halloween cover set, like many bands do, and I've been able to do the last 2 years. I can't do it this year because, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm busy with something else. But 2 years ago, we did Deep Purple, and learning to play Burn, the first song on Deep Purple's Burn, was like one of the most like humbling and challenging experiences of my life. I don't know if you guys know the song, but like the entire verse is a drum fill, which like who the fuck does that? Like yeah, okay, so like Coverdale, you're gonna sing over this part, and I'm just gonna like be playing like 30-second notes like over it the whole time. He's Ian Pace is just doing a drum fill the entire verse, which is like impressive from a it's like a flashy kind of like almost like Keith Mooney kind of thing to do, but also just to keep time, like to not like speed up or slow down and keep the 4/4 rhythm behind the song so that the vocalist can sing the words in the right place. Just like on another level. Like Ian Pace was one of those drummers that sitting down and learning all these songs that he played on just improved my drumming so much. And that's as a drummer, I really love and respect all these drummers from the 70s, especially these British drummers. Cozy Powell, Ian Pace, obviously Bonham. Just like sitting down and learning to play what they play, especially when Ian Pace is a drummer that plays far outside of my ability and style. Like he's on another level. But even my approximation of what Ian did, especially on songs like Burn, just it's like it's a life lesson. I was just like I was a different person after I learned that song. It's a whole other thing.
Nice, nice.
And like I came to Deep Purple a little late. Like I grew up listening to like White Snake, their like second self-titled album, which was obviously a huge hit on MTV and stuff. So I knew who Coverdale was, like, but I had no idea that he sang in Deep Purple. And like my favorite part of like Coverdale era stuff is that like Glenn Hughes is playing bass and also singing, and like in my opinion is a better vocalist than Coverdale. And you see footage from that era, like the big like US festival or whatever they play, that huge outdoor festival, and like Glenn Hughes is kind of like destroying Coverdale on stage vocally and playing bass. Like it's just, and Glenn Hughes is one of those, he's an enigma. He still sounds great to this day. Like in 2025, Glenn Hughes still sounds amazing, and he's probably done like a Mount St. Helens amount of cocaine in his life. Like he's done so much cocaine. Now, still, how is this dude still alive and also like singing so well? A friend of mine just saw him perform this past year and was like, yeah, his voice sounds as strong as ever, which is unreal. Glenn Hughes is unreal. All right.
Real quick.
Yeah, of
real
course.
quick. I know you're not familiar with the show. We do not condone the drug use terminology. We try to keep it family friendly.
I'm impressed that the man is alive. That's
no, and that is awesome. That is awesome. But I was just thinking, like Nick and I, we have this thing where we refer to marijuana intake as listening to Cypress Hill. It was like we need to come up with something for cocaine use. Like we need to come up with like, we don't David Lee Roth around here. We don't.
Diamond Dave is a great
Dave.
Anonymous.
That is hilarious.
It's just, and you read all these books, like about the history of these bands and just like the stories of like, I think it was Iommi's book, and he talks about recording with Glenn Hughes and having him sing on the one Sabbath record he sang on, and he's like, he would just come over to the studio and just like do all my coke. He would like leave to go find more coke, and it's like, Glenn, we got to record some vocals, man. Like, again, just unbelievable that these people survived the 70s and are still like somehow still performing today. Like that's just amazing to me.
They don't make them like they used to.
Dude, there's no way, man. Like I quit drinking and doing drugs like 5 years ago because like I just wanted to survive. Like I just want to keep playing music, and I just like I can't do this anymore if I keep abusing my body. Like I had to like cut it off. And like I've done all the drugs. So again, I know how detrimental it is. So like how do these guys do that? It's superhuman.
We got to wrap this up. Did I not just say we don't talk about drug use? I
I am personally not condoning it. I'm like, I don't even do it anymore. So
this whole thing reminds me of Mitch Hedberg. I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too.
Mitch can sum up anything. All right, I'm going to move on.
Anyway, moving on.
Next in the autobiographical journey, Devo, the debut record. Of course, I have both covers, the European cover and the U.S. cover. I am originally from Akron, Ohio, which I don't know if you know this, but Devo is from Akron, Ohio, and they're just like this point of pride, and they're just like finding out about Devo as a kid and being like, this band is so fucking weird, and like to me, still one of the most progressive, like uh political like commentary, and just the way they were able to sort of like subvert this like dominant paradigm of the major label industry from within. It was just like, it's such an interesting story, and especially that they started off as like a art project. They were like, oh, we'll like make a student film and be an art project. And um there's actually a documentary on Netflix, which I've seen all the documentaries on them, and it's actually like really great. I was really impressed. So like, if you don't know anything about Devo, go watch the documentary. I won't say anything more about them because it's just it's a point of the hometown pride for me. Is that's that band for sure.
That's
Um,
right.
moving on, the second installment of Ronnie James. This is Dio, the last in line. You know, like Holy Diver was a huge record for me, and sort of my like uh, indoctrination into the gospel of Dio. But pound for pound, Last in Line I think is like a better record, and like just I mean, just the songs are We Rock, Last in Line, I Speed at Night, One Night in the City, Evil Eyes, and then the closer on this record, Egypt, The Chains Are On. Any song that mentions chains, I will put on a mixtape for sure, because like you can't like have a song that talks about chains and not have it be heavy metal. It's immediately a heavy metal song if you're talking about chains. But then yeah, Vinny Appice's drums on this album are huge. Like they're massive. And we were talking about Black Sabbath earlier, the Dio era, and once Bill Ward had to be out of the picture because of his alcoholism, and Vinny came in because of his association with Dio to play on Mob Rules. Like it was a different vibe. Vinny brings this whole huge 70s like massive kind of rock vibe. And I love Vinny. His brother Carmine, also, who played with Vanilla Fudge and Cactus, and is a Rod Stewart. It's like a legendary drummer, and those two brothers are, I think, two of the best drummers that have ever done it, in my opinion. So yeah, by far the best Dio record for my money.
Nice.
I love the music video for Last in Line. Great stuff.
It's so perfectly like encapsulates that era. Like it's just like, do you want to know what it felt like, in 1984 or whatever? This is it.
Yeah.
Great music video for sure. Speaking of the 1980s, next album, Discharge, Never Again. I know it's not a proper album; it's a compilation. But for me, it's the Discharge record that I just reach for the most. Got some of their best singles on it, and just a great collection. And like I said, I came from the hardcore punk scene. Discharge was like a touchstone for everyone in that scene, but especially drummers. Like you were sort of like judged on how well you could play a D beat, and the fact that like there's a drum beat that is named after a band, in my opinion, is like that's such an amazing thing. And the fact that they've spawned a whole like subgenre of music, like that there's diss bands. I don't know if you guys know about any of this. Like it's much bigger in the 90s, maybe early 2000s. But all these bands that were just imitating Discharge and would be named, Dis something. Especially like Japanese bands did this very, very well, as Japanese bands do. But yeah, Discharge is still one of my favorite bands of all time, and will always be a part of my sort of musical DNA, and especially as a drummer. Even if I don't get to play as many D beats as I want to these days, I always try to work it in if I can.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
I was unaware of the Dis.
you don't know about that?
I guess
Yeah,
I was new to me, man. Never heard that, so that's
it's
pretty cool.
weird. It's one of those things where like the fanaticism around Discharge and the like. I have friends that just like are. And many friends who are just like collectors of like they need every single record, every single album, even the bootlegs, and they're just like fanatical about that band. And then they know all of these sort of offshoots of this band that are all. It's like they're trying to like recreate certain eras of the band. Um, it's real. I don't know. That stuff's really interesting to me. A lot of those bands aren't interesting to me, but Discharge for me is like it was the template for a lot of things. And I guess on a completely a different end of the spectrum, next we'll go with Fate's Warning, Awaken the Guardian. It's like goes from the most hardcore DIY punk album to the most airbrushed like 80s heavy metal cover of all time. So yeah, this was the last, and in my opinion, the best album of the John Arch era for Fate's Warning. I autobiographically sort of have a tangential relationship to Fate's Warning in that my friend Jeff Wagner, who is a journalist who's written a bunch of books and written for a bunch of magazines and was editor at a bunch of magazines as well, wrote a book on Fate's Warning called Destination Onward, the story of Fate's Warning. I worked on the design for the book. I'm a graphic designer for my day job, for my money job, because drumming doesn't pay the bills. And I got to design the book cover for the Fates Warning book. And then for the last couple of years, Jeff and I have also been working on a book that we just finished that just went live for pre-orders on the history of the band Voivod, the Canadian legendary, weird thrash band.
Yeah.
Nice. So we just finished, and the pre-orders just went live like a week or two ago. And that book is called "Always Moving: The Strange Multiverse of Voivod," and should be shipping by November of 2025 this year. So very excited to see that in the world, and such a cool opportunity to kind of like work on, some piece of heavy metal history. And yeah, it was really cool to also work on a book about both these bands, Voivod and Fates Warning, because you just learn so much that you didn't know. They're not my favorite bands, but I just learned all this incredible history and detail that I would never have come across. And as a music fan and a heavy metal nerd, I was there for it.
Well, that's awesome, man. Well, congrats on the book, man.
Thanks, man.
That's really cool.
It's like one of those things I've been working on. I've been working on it for like over 2.5, 3 years, and I haven't been able to talk about it. And now it's like finally in the world. So I'm like, it's happening. It's fine. I mean, I haven't got to. We're still at the printer, so we haven't gotten the actual books yet. But like being able to like finally hold the book in my hand will be great. Thing's fucking massive. It's like 530 pages. So if you are a heavy metal nerd and you like Voivod, this book was written for you.
I have to assume King Valley has something to do with that. Him and Snake are like this.
All over it. King is like he is. So the book is told as an oral history. It's not a straight history of the band. He basically, Jeff just interviews people like King about their experience with Voivod. So yeah, King's in every chapter, like every, and he's got such great things to say. Even the albums that every other Voivod fan is like, I don't know, he loves them. It's just like, such a super fan. Yeah,
that's great.
Great dude. Great. It's a good read. I'm excited to see it in the world. So yeah, Fate's Warning, Awaken the Guardian. Next, we're gonna keep it 80s and keep it.
Oh yes.
keep it fantasy album covers with a Grim Reaper, See You in Hell. Another autobiographical note. I had the chance to play a show with Grim Reaper on one of their final tours, the U.S. before Steve Grimmett passed away in 2022. I played a show with them in 2019, so he'd already lost his leg by this point. I don't know if you guys know about his whole. He had his leg amputated on tour when he was in South America. Wild shit.
Oh, wow.
But kept going, kept singing, kept touring, and played here in the Bay Area. And I'm in a '70s rock band called Older Sun. You know, it's a very Deep Purple, Black Sabbath kind of Scorpions sort of vibe. And so we actually opened for Grim Reaper, and I got to meet and hang out with Steve, and just such a great dude, and like such a like veteran of heavy metal. And also, like, you meet those people that have been doing it for so long and beaten down by it, like physically. Like, he literally had lost a leg and was like in a wheelchair, you know, for most of the show, and like was able to get up and, you know, and sing. And he has like a prosthetic leg he uses on stage as well. But like, just that, the fact that he was still doing it and still on tour, like at his age and in his physical state, like I just had so much respect.
Yeah, that's a trooper for sure, man. Wow.
It was wild. And just, you know, and this was like 2019, I think, and he was, you know, gone 3 some years later. So I just I feel lucky and grateful that I was able to meet him and see him perform in person. So yeah, and of course they closed with "See You in Hell," and the whole like crowd was on stage like singing with him, and he was like passing the mic around. It was a beautiful moment in
Man, that's
Bay
rad.
Area.
It's killer.
Very cool stuff. All right, we're gonna keep it 80s. We're gonna next go to Merciful Fate. Melissa, sure, a record you guys have seen on your show many times. I mean, for me, like the first, you know, Merciful Fate I heard was the self-titled EP, which is just captures your imagination with its like, you know, middle school level pencil cover art of boobs, and the songs on that EP are incredible, and have this great sort of like dingy feel. They feel more evil because they're a little more underproduced. And by Melissa, I feel like they'd sort of like taken, you know, that formula for their songwriting, but like really, you know, up the ante to make it even more like big sounding and more kind of like, I think, you know, King Diamond was getting a little bit closer to his vision of what he kind of saw for Merciful Fate. And just like seven songs of just like pure, like fun satanic heavy metal. I know it's like, you know, maybe not supposed to be fun, but there's these like those songs that are like so evil sounding that it just puts a huge smile on my face. Like I can't help but like be really happy when I hear Curse of the Pharaohs. I'm just like, like it's just like it's everything I want. In like
Black Funeral.
Oh, Black Funeral. Oh my
god. That riff is just so fucking yeah. Just from start to finish, great record.
It's to me, there's no dull moments on that album, and I feel like they nailed it. And to come out of the gate with your first official, you know, album just to be such a scorcher is absolutely unreal. I have so many records. I'm sorry. Please feel free to stop. Dude, shut the fuck up. We're done here to make records.
Well, just real quick, we can always have it back for part 2. Just saying.
2 parts.
Just saying. That can absolutely be don't feel rushed to go through all of these because.
I think I have more to say about some of them than others. There's just a few notes on some of them, but like, yeah, don't give me the chance to look for more albums either. That might be bad. If you do part 2, I'll find like 20 more records I want to talk about.
We'll just kick you out of the studio and be done with it. All right. Well, that was Patrick. Thanks a lot, Patrick, for taking up 5 hours of our time talking about Martin Birch.
I got more Martin Birch ready for you. Hold on. Blizzard of Oz, the first Ozzy. I know I kind of like went with Dio era Sabbath for my Sabbath pick, but this Ozzy album, with, you know, Randy Rhoads, Bob Daisley on bass, and Lee Kerslake on the drums, who I'll come back to Lee Kerslake for a later pick as well. Lee Kerslake was the drummer for the classic era of Uriah Heep, and one of my favorite drummers. I just watched a documentary on him that was not a great film, but a cool sort of like insight into the history of Lee Kerslake, who does not get nearly enough credit for what he did, especially for this first Ozzy record. To me, the drums on this are an integral part of the sound. He kind of came in a little bit later to the songwriting. Bob Daisley and Randy Rhoads had written most of the record. But the amazing thing about Lee Kerslake as well is that he has an incredible voice. Like he sang harmonies for all the Uriah Heep stuff live. And I'm one of those drummers that like, I'm already moving all four of my limbs. Like I can't do another thing. Like I'm not gonna sing. Like those drummers that can sing while they're playing, and especially in tune and really well, the way Lee Kerslake did it was incredible. But yeah, I mean, I had to have Ozzy in here because obviously his passing this year. I've been thinking about Ozzy a lot and going back and re-listening to all the albums again. So yeah, that one to me captured the magic. I wish that lineup could have made like 3 or 4 more albums, but Sharon had to get involved and do what Sharon does. So no shade to her. She did a lot for heavy metal, but like she fucked up that lineup of the band, unfortunately. And interestingly, I don't know if you guys know about this. She talks about how the recording of this album of Blizzard of Oz was like one of her favorite recording experiences in her life. She wasn't fucking there. They weren't together. He was still married to his previous wife. Like just the level of sort of like, I don't know. She's such an egomaniac, and I don't want to get into Sharon too much. I mean, obviously where she comes from with her dad, Don Arden, and like her sort of like, I think, level of self-importance. It's frustrating, but at the same time, there probably would have been no Ozfest if it weren't for Sharon Osbourne. So like, you got to take the good with the bad.
On that note, our next week's guest, Sharon Osbourne, has been canceled. We are very sorry about this, that we can no longer have Sharon Osbourne on the show. Please continue, Patrick.
I like to ruin it for everybody. Let me know who else you got coming. I'll talk some shit. I mean, I really do respect Sharon for so much of what she's done. It's just so hard to hear those stories where you're like the musicians suffered. I have to side with the musicians. Like I know management's important. I know that like Ozzy never would have been Ozzy if it weren't for her. He would have never had that second career. But yeah, that lineup was so good. Bob Daisley, Randy Rhoads, Lee Kerslake. I just wanted like even one more record, even one more album with that lineup would have been incredible. But hey, they made one. What else can you ask for? All right,
there you go.
Let's get some black metal in here. Immortal, The Heart of Winter. This record for me is the highlight in the Immortal catalog. I know not everyone agrees with that. I know Demon Oz didn't play guitar on it because there's like tendonitis issues, but he did write all the lyrics. He was involved, and I don't know. Like I love everything Immortal has done. For my band Nite, we even though we're a much more sort of traditional heavy metal sounding band musically, and we take a lot more from Iron Maiden than we do from Immortal, guitar wise, the vocal production on Immortal will sit and analyze sort of like each album, like how they've recorded their vocals. Cause it's just, there's so much sort of like atmosphere and personality in the Immortal vocals, and each album's a little different, but yeah, I just such a phenomenal band, and like for me that's their career highlight. A little different. It's a little different than their classic black metal sound, but a little thrashier, a little more melodic, but I love it. Speaking of Iron Maiden, I always reach for Peace of Mind. I know that it's maybe not everybody's first pick, but I will have to highlight that this was produced by Mr. Martin Birch.
There we go.
He's credited here as Martin Black Knight Birch. I don't know. He's got a different nickname on every Iron Maiden album that he produced, and he produced a lot of Iron Maiden albums. So again, like you think about the range of stuff he's doing. He's producing Black Sabbath albums, He's producing Deep Purple albums from the 70s. He's producing, you know, this Dickinson era Iron Maiden stuff, the classic like Iron Maiden. Once Paul Di'Anno's out of the picture, which those Di'Anno albums actually are probably my favorite. If I had to like pick, you know, my favorite batch of songs, like I love those first two Maiden albums, but for the Bruce era, like there's Peace of Mind is just like I just love the collection of songs on this, and it always gets me excited. And I know it's
I
Nick's
think
first record too with the band.
whenever you look at their set list, they mostly play more songs off that album than they do with any other ones. I've
Right?
noticed.
Like
Yeah,
it's interesting. Like I think it doesn't, but it's funny. Like I don't feel like people talk about this one as much as a record. You know,
it's not Number of the Beast. That's why, and it's not Power Slave, but it's got the Trooper, Revelations, a
I
lot of
mean,
Icarus on that, right? Some
uh,
damn good.
it's so good, man. And starting with Eagles Dare, like where Eagles Dare, like
Yeah,
I
Where Eagles. There you go.
get so excited when I hear
Get my
that album
Maiden
come
stuff
out
mixed.
every time. And again, Martin Birch, he's all his fingerprints are all over this stuff.
I'm waiting for the album whenever his nickname is Martin. That guy Birch.
Definitely could.
Yes, it's me again.
Okay, we'll keep it with the '80s heavy metal influences. The Priest record I always reach for, Sad Wings. You know, like it was very early in their career. They still hadn't kind of figured out what their sort of heavy metal sound was. But it like there's such amazing sort of precursors to what they would become, you know? And like I don't know, Victim of Changes is still just to me one of the best heavy metal songs ever written. And also the fact that like that Halford is still in 2025 singing like he is. I didn't get to see them when they recently passed through town. Priest is on tour right now with Alice Cooper. Um, but like that pairing, like two dudes in their 70s, like septuagenarians, going up there and like still ripping and still like our bassist Avinash from Nite went to the show, and he's like, yeah, Rob sounded as good as he's ever sounded. Like just still hitting all the high notes, still like a performer, you know, still all the costume changes. Like it's like who would have thought in 2025 Rob Halford would still be performing at that level? It's unreal to me. That's my Priest pick. Okay, deep breath. Keep going. Kiss. So I'm gonna be completely honest. I was very late to Kiss. I was a kid in the 80s. I was in high school in the 90s. I just missed Kiss. And I think I was like really into, like I said, DIY, like hardcore punk rock. Like Kiss was like the antithesis of that. So like I didn't understand Kiss. I didn't get them. And it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I really came to Kiss as like as sort of being able to reconsider them, like what they were and what they are. And holy shit, this record, like I just, and again, like autobiographically, bands that I'm in have covered so many songs from this album. The opening song Strutter is so fun to play. It's such a straightforward rock song, but it's just like it is such a, I don't know, there's something really joyous about playing that song. And my favorite Kiss song, Black Diamond, closes the album with Peter Criss on lead vocals. Again, singing drummers. How the fuck do they do that? I don't. It's beyond me. Uh, and I have to mention, obviously, we just lost Ace Frehley, and so as a testament to him, I've been listening to a lot of my Kiss albums. But that first record, just for me, still just captured it. It's phenomenal stuff. Thank you, Ace. Thank you, Kiss. Moving on.
So real quick, I've come to the conclusion that the three of us are pretty much around the same age.
Yeah. I'm 40. How old am I? Shit. I'm 46.
I will be 46 in 2 weeks.
Hell,
So yeah, we're all around the same. I still have not reached the age where I listen to Kiss.
totally fine.
But it's no fault of their own. I've seen them once. I saw them play two songs. just so I could say, hey, they were at a festival in Chicago. Say, I got to see Kiss. I got to see them. It's like a bucket list band, whatever. And
Yeah,
just like one of those, I got to see them. But I mean, I do appreciate the band for what they've done, but I've never really taken an inkling to like, I'm going to throw on Kiss Destroyer. Like I just, that was never my thing. And no offense to them, no offense to anybody who likes them, but I just, you're saying like you got into your 30s before you got into them. I still
there's
haven't hit that
there's
stage in my
still
life yet where I listen to Kiss intentionally.
I think what was interesting to me growing up, playing in bands with people that were sort of like 10, 15 years older than me. I was always kind of the youngest person in bands, and all these guys that grew up in the 70s were such huge Kiss fans. No matter what they listened to at that point,
Mm-hmm.
they all came from this Kiss era. And Kiss, I think, was such a like important band for so many kids that were growing up in the 70s. And I think we just our age, we missed it by like 10 years. If we were 10 years older,
So,
we
Yeah.
would be fans. So I didn't
so
get
I'm
it. I didn't understand why people liked it so much. And it really took me sitting down with their whole catalog and being like, oh, like I can't explain it, but something clicked and I was like, holy shit, this band
Mm-hmm.
is actually fucking awesome. And they're not great musicians and they're actually not great singers, but there's something magical about what they did. I don't know. I can't explain it.
so I'm about 2 years younger than you guys, and around 1989, 1990, when I was really starting to getting into metal in my formative
Yeah.
years, they were still in the unmasked era, which
Hmm.
I like to call the hair metal era of Kiss, because like they were playing glam stuff. But
Totally.
for me personally, at the time, the album that they just put out was "Hot in the Shade," and that's when I hopped on board. And it wasn't. And then the next thing they put out was "God Gave Rock and Roll to You." But going back, I'm not going to sit here and act like those rock and roll things that they did in the '70s weren't bad. Like there were some classic hits. For me personally, I'm a big fan of the hair stuff because I got into all that stuff. Like I loved
I love that stuff.
Animalize and,
Oh,
and,
that's
and
great.
everything really.
And
So
that's
they
I think that's why going back and listening to their whole catalog made me appreciate them so much more because you saw how they've changed and evolved. And the thing that remained was the songwriting. The songwriting was killer. Like just could write an amazing song that didn't need to be flashy or complex. It's like, can you write a good riff and have a good lyric over it and like make people feel something? Like that's all I want. So like yeah, they did that through a lot of different eras. I love the 80s. You're calling glam Kiss. Like I'm into it.
Yeah, no, that's what it
Yeah.
was. I mean, the music had definitely changed. They were trying to stay with the times. So
I mean, dude, even like song like I Was Made for Loving You. It's,
there you
it's like a
go.
disco song, but who fucking cares? It's a good song. Who gives a shit? Good song is a good song, if you ask me. Speaking of good songs, Poison Idea, Feel the Darkness,
Nice.
the classic album cover with I don't know if you guys know this, but that's
Tiny Tim.
Tiny Tim.
Yep.
Which as a
Hmm.
kid I just was unaware of who Tiny Tim was. But I originally had this on cassette tape, and I was just like, who the fuck is this? I thought it was somebody in the band. I was like, who is that? Like, but it's just such an impactful album cover, and as a drummer, again, I have to pay attention to what's happening behind the drum kit. The Slayer hippie, his performance on this album is it's just unreal. Such an incredible band, such a unique band, and yeah, that this record still makes me feel things that a lot of other albums don't make me feel. So yeah, it's a big one for me. Are you guys Poison Idea fans? You like them?
I've dabbled here and there. I'm not like well versed in them or anything. And I know I've said that so many times on the show. I mean, I've checked them out.
Yeah.
Just I'm not.
Well, I got to say, as an aside, like, that's got to be a fun thing for you guys doing the show is like having other people talk about music they love, and then maybe you getting to discover new stuff that you never
I
thought
say
about.
this so much. This is my favorite part of this show because people will bring in music, that I've never heard or never
Yeah,
really, that I've heard but never really gotten into, and just like, fuck, I want to listen to this band now. I've discovered so many bands because of this show. So,
I mean, it makes me want to do that. It sounds so much fun. I did do for a while. I was doing a radio show on. Do you guys remember Gimme Radio? It was around like
Hmm.
maybe
yeah,
5, 7 years ago. It started, and then it wrapped up within the last 3 or 4 years. It was like an internet radio thing, but
yeah,
they
I
had a
remember Gimme Radio. Hmm.
bunch of great DJs, and I got to have a show on there for 2 years. And it was just so cool to like I think to like force yourself to discover new music, I'm sort of like, as you can tell with my picks, I'm very stuck in the 70s, 80s, 90s.
And that's cool. That's absolutely cool.
But I loved the sort of like being forced to like look at new bands and see like what came out this week or this month, and like it really forced me out of my comfort zone.
Great.
But discovered a ton of new shit that I never would have known about. Okay, there's only three more, so I'm hopefully I'm on pace here. But I got
doing great.
All right, cool. I got to bring out another Martin Birch produced record and another record by our friend Ronnie James Dio. This is the third pick for me with Dio on vocals. I believe this is album number 5 for Martin Birch as a producer. And I might listen to Long Live Rock and Roll more. Like I might have listened to that record more, but like the sound on this, and I think the sort of synths have a lot to do with it for me. But just as a drummer, again, Cozy Powell, like he is probably one of my favorite drummers of all time, if not my favorite drummer. I knew about Bonham first, and I sort of studied Bonham first as like a 70s rock guy. But once I discovered Cozy Powell, and once I realized how many albums Cozy Powell had played on that I loved and appreciated, it was just like, who is this guy? Who was this guy? Of course, died way too young in a really unfortunate car crash. He would still be playing today, I'm sure. But Cozy's intro, drum intro to Stargazer, is one of like my most favorite things to play as a drummer. It's so fun. Like that's like my sound check drum fill, like I just like, it's just, and it's like gets me so excited, to hear like 8 minutes of Dio talking about some cult wizard figure. it's just one of the most amazing songwriting, I think, feats for me for this band. And Richie Blackmore, he's obviously been on several of my picks too. Like his guitar playing has just been a huge influence for me as a musician as well. Even though I'm not a guitarist, I love what he does. You guys Rainbow fans? We're talking about Dio too much?
Neither. No, I'm not a Rainbow. I'm not from. I mean, I've heard of Rainbow, but again, same thing with. I mean, not really the same thing with Kiss, because Kiss is like astronomically popular, and Rainbow was just like. I mean, they were popular among a particular fan base, but like the general population wouldn't be like, oh yeah, we love Rainbow. Like I mean, am I wrong?
What's interesting about Rainbow is like it's Richie Blackmore from Deep Purple and Ronnie James Dio on vocals. So in my mind, like they were a huge deal. But yes, they were a blip on most people's radar for
as far as the general population. Yeah. So I was never subjected to Rainbow or whatever. And Dio, like, I mean, I appreciate what the man did, but I was never a big fan. And God, I don't know why I just said that on the fucking internet. I'm going to hear about that from Champ Morgan. As soon as he gets wind of this, he's going to call me.
I don't think Dio's a divisive figure, but I think that he's somebody who, for musicians, I think he was a huge sort of influence and touchstone for a lot of musicians. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
Think
if it weren't for Dio, we would never have Vivian Campbell in this world.
Exactly. Thank you.
That's all I can say. That's all I can say.
You look at Dio, and he's like, he's like, he made a lot of things happen, and he did a lot of things that were maybe like think about the position he was in to come in as the new singer of Black Sabbath. Like that's got to be I don't know who could do that other than Dio. Like that's a huge task. It's a huge undertaking. So even if you don't love his vocal style, and even if his like symbolism and his rainbows and wizards is not your bag, I think just appreciating what he's done for heavy metal and the evolution of it is like, for me, that's enough. Like he was such an integral figure in the heavy metal story. And I realized too, like it's so funny, like like all these picks are like 90s like hardcore punk and 70s rock. Like where's the heavy metal in any of this? But
yeah, where's the Huey Lewis, dude? Come on.
don't tempt me. Yeah, it's funny. Like I do listen to new music. I do listen to heavy metal. But I don't know. Like I think about the kind of drummer I am and the kind of place that I want to sort of like occupy as a heavy metal drummer. Like to me, the term heavy metal is even kind of meaningless. Like it's all rock and roll. if you ask me. Like everything stems from rock and roll, and they're all just sort of different offshoots of rock and roll. I know that's a wild generalization, but like that's just how I like to think of it. Is like this all came from somewhere, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like even the most technical, like death metal and sort of like grindy drummers today, like they studied this stuff. They even if they're young, even if they sort of missed the sort of 70s rock stuff, it all kind of like it all comes from there. Like it all, I mean, it all probably came from John Bonham, actually, if we're honest. But like it's, I love for me, like I love going back to the source of like where did all the inspiration come from? Where did all the playing come from? And yeah, for me, it's a lot of these albums. Okay, two more records, and then I'm going to be done. I don't know. I couldn't pick my favorite Thin Lizzy, so I just picked Black Rose. I'm just a massive Thin Lizzy fan. They're one of those bands that I'm never not in the mood to listen to. I love their whole catalog. I love every era. I love every lineup, even the weird trio era of the first three records. That was kind of folky and jammy. I don't care. Phil Lynott's vocals and lyrics. It's just like, I mean, so like my full name is Patrick Lynch Crawford. I am very much of Scottish Irish descent, and all my ancestors are probably from those islands, those tiny islands in the Atlantic. And so yeah, there's something, especially in like Roisin Dove, Black Rose, that just speaks to me. Like it's just like there's this ancestral kind of like feeling I get when I listen to Thin Lizzy. So cheesy, I know, but it's true. Okay, last pick. I'm like looking at the clock up there in the corner, like holy shit! I've been
Oh,
talking
you're
to
fine, dude. This is perfect. You've done a great job so far.
last album. I don't know if you noticed too. I went in alphabetical order, so we were ending on you.
Nice.
Uriah Heep, Demons and Wizards. I said I would come back to Lee Kerslake. I know I'm talking about drummers a lot, but hey, I'm a drummer. Lee Kerslake joined Uriah Heep for this record. In my opinion, just like elevated their sound a ton. As I said, he like would sing backup vocals and harmonies. This record is. I'm probably not gonna convince you guys. If you don't like Dio, you probably don't like Uriah Heep, but that's okay. It's a very sort of like 70s magical, mystical album. It feels like a journey. And then of course like the Roger Bain artwork, like who else could they have gotten to illustrate that cover other than him? And yeah, it has that kind of like, obviously he's known for the Yes album covers, but I feel like he lent that visual aesthetic to a lot of bands that had that sort of like magical, mystical, otherworldly feel, and it's perfect for this record. Um, I mean, I know it has the huge hit "Easy Living" on it. You guys know "Easy Living." Obviously, that was the huge Uriah Heep hit. If you can't picture it, you've heard the song. It's on
I'm
it's on
sure I have.
70s radio. But yeah, the first album, "The Wizard," "Traveler in Time," "Easy Living." It just, I don't know. There's some magic. I'm realizing I'm leaning super heavy on the 70s rock stuff, but like I don't know, like I just, if I'm looking through my albums, that's like those are the ones those are the ones I keep pulling out. They're the
Well,
ones that sort of the magical flavor in them.
another cool thing about this show is that, like, these artists come on, and if somebody's a huge fan of your band, and if they've been following you for however long, and then they discover that you listen to these 70s bands, are gonna be like, holy shit, maybe I'm missing something. And you know what I'm saying? Like, instead of people,
Totally.
because I'm sure a lot of people stereotype that, like, death metal musicians only listen to death metal. Like,
Sure.
it's silly. So to learn that these musicians that are making this awesome music are listening to song majority of the albums from the 70s, you know what I'm saying? It's cool to have that perspective of somebody, to not pigeonhole them into just death metal. Like, it just
Yeah.
a broader spectrum. So
I mean,
it's very cool that you've taken this route and talking
thank
about
you.
Discharge and Rainbow. It just it's really awesome. It truly is. It really is.
They feel like very disparate bands, but And then honestly, like, our band Nite is effectively Iron Maiden riffs with like sort of black metal vocals, and then like John Bonham drumming. Like my drumming is like I'm not doing there's not a ton of double kick. It's all like very groove based and very backbeat, big kind of 80s like stadium metal like drum sounds. So like in a way like these picks for me they make sense. Like I can see the sort of lineage of these drummers to my drumming, but sort of in a modern context, right? We're a band that put a record out in 2025. We're a modern band and we're a modern heavy metal band on a modern label, but I feel like so much of what we're referencing as a band is from the past, but we try to sort of like present it in a context that's like new and different, but we're really just repackaging old ideas, which I think, no offense, but most bands are doing that. Like that's what those are the bands that I love. Yeah, they're quoting something, and that's all art is. All art is a reaction to whatever came before it, directly before it, and they're building on whatever happened right before their era.
Simpsons did it.
True.
Good one.
It's very true.
And real quick before we end this episode, I text Jen with a screenshot and said, "Hey, I got this guy Pat on our show," and she screamed and said she loves Patrick. So shout out to our friend Jen Hag, one of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my life. She's an awesome person and great. According to Patrick here, one of the best merch ladies in the world.
The best. This whole episode is dedicated to Ozzy Osbourne, Ace Frehley, and Jen Hag. And Jen Hag is still with us. She's still alive. But
yes, yeah,
awesome.
You got to clarify that.
Let's clarify that.
She has not died. She's very much alive, and she will live forever. But
absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for reaching out there. She's the best. I hope to see her again soon.
Same. Well, Patrick, thank you so much for taking the time to do this show. This was an awesome one. These are some classics, and I'm not gonna lie, these are some great fucking albums you laid out for us this week,
dude.
I'm really stoked.
I'm very happy on how all this turned out, and pretty much within the time frame.
Love it.
I really think we should keep the Sharon Osbourne hate to a minimum next time. But
I told myself I wouldn't go off on Sharon Osbourne,
and here we are. I have my editing. I have my editing business cut out for me on this episode. Patrick, dude. This has been so fun. Thank you so much, dude. This was a lot of fun. It was, it was great.
I appreciate it.
For sure. And thank you to everybody who watched this week, and we will see you all next week.
All right. See you guys.
Final thing, my life.